Wednesday, 17th of December, 1930. Dear Bob, just a few lines from your old mam. And I mean old, very old. Your birthday card arrived. I was so pleased that you remembered. I love Patience Strong's verses. Jimmy saw your card and asked me how old I was. 21, says me. 21, says he, a look of amazement on his face. You're very old, aren't you? I gave him one of my cutting looks. I can see a bit of your dad in that boy. We found a good way of getting him clean, though. A pal of your dad's who works at the synthetic gave your dad a bottle of ammonia. You put a drop in the bathwater. It stinks the place out, but it doesn't half bring the muck off our Jimmy. Tatar Pet called last night for the insurance money, as usual. He'd just called at Mrs. Turnbull's, and she gave him a glass of a rhubarb wine. Well, he was so enthusiastic about it and telling her how good it was that she gave him another glass. Your dad says he thinks she puts dynamite in it. Anyway, when Tatar Pet came in here, you could see he was knock-kneed, cross-eyed, and his arithmetic wasn't up to its usual standard. When he went out of the door, I stood on the steps to watch him go down our path to the gate. The bobby was coming down the street, and he got off his bike and watched Tatar Pet trying to get on his. I shouted to your dad to come out and rescue him, or he'd finish under the clock for the night. So your dad came out, got Tatar Pet's bicycle clips, hung them over the handlebars, put the bike in our back arch, and Tatar Pet wobbled off down the street on the rest of his round. Wednesday, 18th of February, 1931. Dear Bob, just a line hoping you are well. It's very cold here. I was woken up at about 6 o'clock this morning by hailstones rattling on the window. It made me shiver and pull the blankets up around my neck. Your dad didn't hear a thing. What hailstones, he said. There's snow on the hills. It makes them look grand, distant, like a grandstand looking over the town. We'll go up there in late summer and pick bilberries and brambles, but just now, I think I'll stay around the fire. Jimmy had to go to school in it. I feel sorry for the kids, having to walk all the way to Martin Grove School in bad weather. Still, it's for their own good. They're paying the musicians off in Middlesbrough. It's the talkies that's doing it. They don't want musicians in the picture houses anymore. They were getting 6 guineas a week. I never dreamed they were getting that much. What I couldn't do with 6 guineas a week. I'd better shut up before I start spending it. Some good news for a change. I don't know if you know Mrs. Sanderson. Lives in Meadowfield? Mr. Sanderson knows your dad. They both work at Smith's Dock. Well, Mrs. Sanderson had been working for Mrs. Levinson, who lives in Cornfield Road, cleaning 1 day a week. Mrs. Sanderson got another job at the Palladium, and she gave up a job with Mrs. Levinson. And Mrs. Levinson asked her if she could recommend anybody for the job, and she gave her my name. So I went round and I got started straight away. I was honest with her, and I told her we're on the dole. She said, that's all right. She understands. And if Dracula from the public assistance comes round, she'll straighten him out. She's a big conservative, and your dad didn't like that when I told him. But I said, who does he think he's working for when he works in the shipyard? So that's the good news. I've been there twice now. The Liberals have just said that if they become the government, they'll spend money on new housing and railways and canals and docks. That seems sensible to my simple way of seeing things. But your dad doesn't trust them, so he'll be working on me. Mrs. Levinson doesn't trust them, so she'll be working on me. And that only leaves your granddad. He is a Liberal. He won't work on me. He'll just tell me what to do, just like he tells your grandma. It isn't easy having the vote. John Bowles is on at the Palladium the back half of this week. He's a lovely singer. I think I'll whisper sweet nothings in your dad's ear, and I might strike lucky. On the other hand, he might start singing. He'll have to think it through. Your loving Mam. P.S. Your dad's just come in whistling Keep Your Feet Still, Geordie Hinney. Newcastle, 0. Borough, 5. Wednesday, 4th of March, 1931. Dear Bob, there's been blood on the moon in Hartlepool, and amongst our betters. The ex-mayor has been sued by his wife for desertion. He says she hit him with a stick and chased him into the street with a bacon knife. These are the people who want to run the town. There's been ructions in our house as well. I've been asking your dad to paint a moustache on so I can see what he'd look like, but he won't. I think he'd look like a film star. Anyway, yesterday he fell asleep in his chair. He'd been out all night with Sam Maynard. They didn't catch anything. I got Jimmy's paint box out and painted a moustache on him. It didn't look very good and I had it a bit skew whiff, so I thought I'd better wipe it off before he woke up. I was just bending